Shalom, 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 shalom. Bunyam Yasha Allah, Bunyam Tazadak, Bunyam Malak. Barakathum Bahashem Yahweh Bahashem Hamashiach Yahawashi. Call Halayim La Yahweh Thum Yad. It's your brother Ak Lamak, representing Mount Zion Reborn Truth Tellers. And before we start, understand this lesson isn't about hate, it's about holiness and separation. From the very beginning, our power, Yahweh, drew a line between his people and the nations. That line hasn't moved, as Yahweh has not changed, but only man has blurred that line. So tonight we're restoring that line. When Yahawashi said, "Give not that which is holy unto the dogs," he was upholding the order that his father set from the beginning. So who are the dogs that Hamashiach Yahawashi, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, who are the dogs? So Shalom, Banyam Yasha Allah, you have wandered around the earth, you who have been scattered, you who have been silenced under the hands of false shepherds and deceivers. Hear this word and open your ears and heart, for it is not a gentle whisper, it is not a suggestion. It is the sound of Yahweh calling his people out of the dust and darkness among the nations, being among them. Today you are being confronted with a truth the world has hidden, a truth the enemies of your covenant have tried to bury under lies, under traditions, under the false comfort of a story that was never meant for you. I'm speaking to you, the lost, the oppressed, the ones who have been subdued under the might of their enemies. I'm talking to those who are a part of the awakening, the stirred within their bones, and to the children of Yasha Allah who have yet to realize the chains around their own necks was put there on purpose. The law, the promises, the covenants, these are not ornaments for your decoration. These are the very lifeblood, the very inheritance, the very key to the redemption that has been whispered since the days of the beginning. Do not let your soul be seduced by what men call mercy, for mercy without obedience is empty, and salvation without covenant is a lie. So listen, for this proclamation that shakes the heavens and the earth, the Most High has not forgotten you. Your forefathers who walked with him, who wrote his words, have not failed. The promises are still alive. The covenant is still unbroken. For the house of Israel and the house of Judah, the united kingdom that was once the whole nation of Yasha Allah, it is you, it is still yours. And even in your exile under the oppression of the nations, even while the world calls you nothing, you are children, Banyam, sons, my people. Banyam Kadash, holy people. Do you hear me? You are not the dogs. You are not the swine. The outsiders, the nations have made you feel like that is talking about you, like somehow it's you who don't belong. That language belongs to them, the heathen, the imposters, the false shepherds who have infiltrated your midst to steal what is yours by birthright. So today you are being reminded, you are being awakened, you are being shown the line, the separation, the covenantal truth that has been hidden by the blind. The Most High does not lie. The Most High does not change. His promises endure for Yasha'Allah alone. The lost sheep shall be gathered. The scattered shall be restored. But let it be known, this salvation, this redemption, this liberation from your enemies will not come to the dogs. It will not come to the swine. It will not come to the unfaithful outside of your bloodline. Yahawashi's mission, his ministry, his rebuke, his mercy, and his healing were all designed for you, his people. Not for the imposters, not for the infiltrators, not for those who call themselves Israel, but are of another father. So let it settle in your hearts. The time of hiding is over. The truth is calling. The truth is coming. And it will not bow to tradition, to comfort, to the lies of men. It will strike at the root of deception and declare what has always been your inheritance. This is the word of Yahweh. He has set you apart. He has marked you. He has not cast you aside. You are his and his alone. Now that we've established the separation, the difference between the holy and the profane, it's time to see how Yahawashi himself carried that same order into his ministry. When he stood up in the synagogue and read from the book of Isaiah, he wasn't announcing an open invitation to the world. He was confirming his assignment to Yasha'Allah, and that's where the mission begins. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 1 and 2, and it reads, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because Yahweh has anointed me to preach the good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of Yahweh, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn." So this is the foundation, the announcement itself. Note carefully, the Spirit of the Lord is upon Yahawashi to act on behalf of his covenant people, not the nations at large. Every phrase in the pericope is deliberate. Preach deliverance to the captives does not imply immediate liberation. It signals the plan of redemption is initiated, not fulfilled like the Christian apologists say. It's initiated. The captives are still captives, yet the announcement marks the beginning of the covenantal restoration timeline. This is Yahweh showing the Israelites that his word has not abandoned them, even under oppression. This is the book of Luke, chapter 4, verse 16 through 19, and it reads, "And he came to Nazareth where he had been brought up, and as his custom was, He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he had anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. Now, Apostle Luke just confirmed Isaiah 61 in action. This is the literal definition of the gospel, the good news, not 1 Corinthians 15. The act of reading publicly in the synagogue demonstrates the immediacy and authority of the proclamation. Unlike a private message, this was public, deliberate, and unmistakably covenantal. Here we see the announcement applied directly to the Israelites, the people in that synagogue, the children of the covenant, Banyam Yasha'Allah, the scattered and the bruised. The commentary sense is critical. The public reading is not for strangers or outsiders. The line is drawn clearly. Yahawashi is declaring the plan of God is moving, even while the captives remain under oppression. It just so happens within this time span, they weren't just under oppression unto the Romans, they were under oppression to the Idumeans. Most importantly, the Idumean that sat on David's throne, Herod. Many Christian apologists claim Yahawashi fully filled Isaiah 61 at this moment when reading, but a closer reading shows he deliberately stops short. He reads through to preach the acceptable year of the Lord, but he does not continue into and the day of vengeance of our God. This is significant because it demonstrates that his first coming was focused on the preaching, the healing, and the gathering of the lost sheep, not executing judgment or completing the full covenant restoration. This aligns perfectly with the covenant timeline we've been mapping. The northern tribes are still scattered at this time and have never set eyes on Yahawashi. The Israelites are under extended punishment, and the acceptable year, the beginning of the covenant renewal through preaching and gathering, is initiated, but it's not finished. The full manifestation of Isaiah 61, including God's vengeance and the ultimate restoration of the Israelites, remain in God's sovereign timing. They came to teach, gather, and prepare the sheep, not to immediately restore the kingdom or execute final judgment. The nations, the dogs, remain outside. The Israelites are the flock under instruction, vigilance, and covenant preservation. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 3 through 4, and it reads, That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither the Lord thy God has scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. Here we see the broader covenant promise supporting Isaiah 61. While Isaiah announces it, Deuteronomy clarifies the scope and certainty. The Israelites will be scattered. Compare with the immediate announcement in Luke chapter 4. The proclamation goes out, but the actual gathering will be performed in Yahweh's timing. Notice the sense. The promise is absolute, yet temporal execution unfolds later. This precept shows why the announcement alone is insufficient to claim immediate liberation. Yahweh controls the timing. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 4, verse 35, and it reads, "And all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. None can stay his hand or say unto him, What doest thou?" So Prophet Daniel emphasizes sovereignty. While Deuteronomy shows promise, Daniel shows absolute control over the nations and powers. This precept explains why the Israelites could remain captive yet still be under covenant. Yahweh permits the temporary rule of the nations, but maintains ultimate authority. Notice the difference in sense. Deuteronomy focuses on gathering and mercy. Daniel focuses on God's total dominion over timing and rulers. Both reinforce the precept, but address different angles: mercy versus sovereignty. This is the book of Numbers, chapter 23, verse 19, and it reads, "God is not a man that he should lie, neither the Son of Man that he should repent. Hath he said, and shall he not do it? Or hath he spoken, and shall he not make it good?" This precept reinforces the certainty of the covenant announcement. Isaiah 61 declares liberation is coming. Deuteronomy and Daniel shows timing and authority. Numbers 23 underscores faithfulness, and what Yahweh has announced will occur despite appearances or delays. The sense here is critical for the listener. Do not doubt the announcement because the captives are still bound. The Most High does not fail. The Most High does not lie, and the Most High does not change. The precept is absolute, giving weight to the announcement in Isaiah 61. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 6. "Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under feet and turn again and rend you." So here Yahawashi draws a clear line of covenant discernment. The holy things, Torah, covenant promises, wisdom belong to Yasha'Allah. Even the rebellious Israelites are not called dogs. The designation is reserved for outsiders, heathens, and intruders. Notice the transitional sense. The announcement of redemption in Isaiah 61 must be protected from the unworthy. The holy things are not for mocking, not for exploitation, not for those outside the covenant. The warning is as practical as it is spiritual. Misuse, mishandling, or misdirection of holy gifts invites destruction. I will revisit this again later on in the lesson. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 26, and it reads, "It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs." This precept reinforces Matthew 7 and 6, but adds a relational nuance. Yahawashi's mission The bread of covenant blessing is first for the children of Yasha'Allah. This Syrophoenician woman's encounter illustrates the covenant boundary in action. Notice the transitional sense here. Outsiders may approach, but the blessing is not theirs by default. The message ties directly back to Isaiah 61. The announcement of liberation is for the Israelites, not the nations. Even if faith is present outside the covenant, the bread of the covenant is bound to who Yahweh has established it with. The Most High honors the line. This is the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 3, verse 36, and it reads, "Thou shalt find that Israel by name has kept thy precepts, but not the heathen." And here we see a corroborating voice outside of the New Testament, reinforcing that covenant exclusivity of holy things. Israelites keep the precepts, the heathens do not. Matthew 7:6 and 15 and 26 show immediate relational boundaries, while 2nd Esdras confirms that this principle is consistent across history and prophecy. The same pattern holds. Covenant obedience preserves access to the holy things. Outsiders, regardless of circumstance, remain excluded. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 1, verse 4, and it reads, "Ah, sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters, they have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backwards." Notice carefully that even in rebellion, the Israelites retain identity. The terms sinful nation and children appear together. Yahawashi's mission, as announced in Isaiah 61, applies to these children as well, even while chastising them for corruption. Rebellion does not redefine covenant membership. Isaiah chapter 1 establishes that chastisement is corrective, not reclassification. Even corrupt Israelites remain within the covenant line, still the intended recipients of the promised liberation and restoration. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 3, verse 14, and it reads, "Turn, O backsliding children, saith Yahweh, for I am married unto you, and I will take you, one of a city and two of a family, and I will bring you to Zion." So Prophet Jeremiah continues the theme. The Israelites may stray, yet they are still Yahweh's people. Notice the relational language here. He said, "I am married unto you," and that reinforces the covenant identity. Comparing Isaiah chapter 1 and Jeremiah 3, we see a pattern. Chastisement and mercy coexist. Isaiah warns, Jeremiah invites return, and Yahawashi's announcement of liberation in Isaiah 61 fits this pattern, that even when the Israelites are bruised, captive, or rebellious, the covenant plan still targets them, not outsiders. This is the book of Hosea, chapter 1, verse 10 and 11, and it reads, "Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God. Then shall the children of Judah and the children of Israel be gathered together, and appoint themselves one head, and they shall come up out of the land, for great shall be the day of Jezreel. So Prophet Hosea emphasizes both a future restoration and covenant identity. Even when the Israelites are dispersed or called not my people in worldly perception, Yahweh's judgment and promise will reveal their true status, the sons of the living God. So this precept reinforces Isaiah 61's announcement of redemption. The Israelites may appear lost, they may be exiled, they may be oppressed, but the covenant line is intact, the promise is secure, and the salvation is exclusive to them. Compared to Isaiah 1 and Jeremiah 3, Hosea adds assurance of ultimate vindication, highlighting Yahweh's unchanging plan. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 15, verse 24, and it reads, "But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Yahawashi makes his mission explicit. The lost sheep, even those misled, even those that are rebellious, even those who are under false shepherds, they are his focus. Notice the deliberate covenant boundary. His mission is not universal. It is exclusively directed towards the Israelites, not the nations, not the outsiders. This precept ties directly back to Isaiah 61. The announcement of liberation is a covenant promise, and Matthew chapter 15, 24 confirms the practical application. Yahawashi's work targets the covenant people, not those outside the line. Even if outsiders approach him in faith, the boundary is maintained. This is the book of Luke, chapter 19, verse 10, and it reads, "For the Son of Man is come to seek and save that which was lost." So Luke clarifies the scope of the mission. That which was lost refers to the lost sheep of the Israelites, as reinforced by Matthew 15:24. The announcement in Isaiah 61 is no abstract promise. It is realized through Yahawashi's ministry. Healing, teaching, and correction are all covenant focused. Even when he rebukes Pharisees or corrupt leaders, they remain part of the covenant line. Notice the overlap with the previous precepts. Isaiah 61 sets the stage. Matthew 15:24 defines the boundary, and Luke 19:10 shows practical implementation, that the Israelites alone are sought, restored, and saved. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 6. "My people hath been lost sheep. Their shepherds have caused them to go astray. They have turned them away on the mountains. They have gone from the mountain to hill. They have forgotten their resting place." Both precepts reinforce the lost sheep concept. This precept also makes it known that the lost sheep could not have been the nations. The Israelites are the scattered, oppressed, and the bruised, yet they are not redefined as dogs or outsiders. Jeremiah identifies misled leadership as the cause. Matthew confirms Yahawashi's compassion for the same covenant people. The lesson is unmistakable that even the rebellious or misled Israelites remain covenant children and could never be considered dogs. Salvation is directed to them. Salvation is directed to the Israelites exclusively. Outsiders remain barred. The announcement in Isaiah 61 is now paired with the practical ministry in the New Testament. The word and the mission converge. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 26 and 27, and it reads, "But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him." This precept complements Daniel 4:35, while the announcement in Isaiah 61 signals liberation. Daniel 7 highlights the ultimate scope of Yahweh's plan. Dominion is given, but it is executed in stages. The Israelites' deliverance and the judgment of the nations occur in God's ordained order. When compared with Matthew 15:24 and Luke 19:10, the mission is covenantal, but the final kingdom authority is preordained by the Father, who is the highest. The announcement assures the covenant people that no temporary oppression can thwart the plan. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 105, verse 8 through 10, and it reads, "He had remembered his covenant forever, the word which he commanded to 1,000 generations, the covenant which he made with Abraham, and his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel for an everlasting covenant." Everlasting means everlasting. Everlasting means it continues till infinity. These precepts ties all prior points together. Covenant, promise, sovereignty, and timing converge. Isaiah 61 is the announcement. Matthew 15:24 and Luke 19:10 show a practical targeting. Daniel and the book of Numbers reveal control and faithfulness. Malachi shows an unchanging character. Psalm 105 completes the picture. The covenant is forever. It's everlasting. The precepts are preserved. The announcement of liberation is secure and inevitable. The captives remain under oppression, and it's only temporary. Their redemption is what's certain. As I promised earlier in the lesson, I said I would revisit these precepts that I had brought out initially. See, now that the Messiah's mission has been declared, we have to understand that not everyone can receive what he came to give. The holy things of the covenant were never meant for all people, only for those chosen and set apart. So this section right here is going to show how Jesus, whose real name is Yahawashi in ancient Hebrew, is going to show how he warned us to use discernment in what we share and with whom. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 6, and it reads, "Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you." He's not speaking in vague moral terms. He's invoking the Torah principle of separation. He's recalling Exodus 22:31 and Deuteronomy 14:21, where the holy things of the Israelites are not to be defiled or mingled with the profane. That which is holy refers to sacred wisdom, the word of the Most High, and the covenant itself. Truths meant for sanctified nation of people, not for those outside the promise. The dogs represent the nations, those uncircumcised in heart and outside the covenant, who do not discern the holiness of what is given. The pearls before swine builds on the same concept. The pearls are precious and pure, but pigs, being unclean, can't appreciate their worth. So Yahawashi is teaching discernment, to guard the sanctity of divine revelation and not to cast it into the hands of those who will only mock, trample, or turn hostile. This isn't about pride or exclusion for its own sake. It's about preserving the integrity of what was given to the Israelites as a trust. Throughout his ministry, Yahawashi modeled this order, sent first and foremost to a lost sheep of the house of Israel, even when he encountered faith among the nations, like the Canaanite woman. He tested their acknowledgement of the Israelites' order, saying it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs. She understood the assignment and submitted to that hierarchy. And through that humility, she received mercy. Thus, Matthew chapter 7 and 6 isn't a casual saying. It's a line drawn by divine authority, reaffirming that what is holy, the word, the covenant, the promises, belong to the chosen nation. Only those who approach it with reverence and recognition of Yahweh's order can partake. This shows Yahawashi didn't come to blur the boundaries, but to magnify the law and uphold the holiness of the Israelites' calling. This is the book of Matthew chapter 15 verses 22 through 26, and it reads, "And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Then she came and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to the dogs." So Matthew chapter 15 verse 26 reinforces Matthew 7 and 6, but it adds relational clarity. Covenant blessings are for the Israelites. The Syrophoenician woman illustrates the boundary in practice. Even when outsiders approach in faith, the covenant bread is not indiscriminately shared. The announcement of liberation in Isaiah 61 is covenantal, and the bread of God's promises is reserved for his people. Notice the overlap. Both verses establish exclusion, but Matthew 15:26 emphasizes relational and covenant context. The practical application, not just principle. This is the book of John chapter 6 verse 35, and it reads, I am the bread of life. He that cometh to me shall never hunger, and he that believeth on me shall never thirst. He wasn't offering an abstract spiritual idea to the whole world. He was identifying himself as the living provision promised to the Israelites. In Torah, bread from heaven was given only to the covenant people in the wilderness, not to the nations. That manna that fell from heaven foreshadowed Yahawashi himself, the Word made flesh, sent again to feed the same people who had hungered for righteousness. The nations were never promised that bread. They were the dogs who could only seek crumbs that fell from the Israelites' table. So when Yahawashi says, "Come to me and never hunger," he's renewing the covenant meal, restoring Israel to fellowship and life through himself, the true manna, the true bread. This is why he warns elsewhere not to give what is holy unto the dogs. This bread, this life, this word is the inheritance of the holy nation. Exodus 19. The wicked or the scattered of the Israelites may have strayed, but they are still sheep. They are still invited to eat and live. The nations, though they may witness, they cannot claim it as their own portion. John chapter 6:35 therefore stands as a covenant declaration. Yahawashi is the bread of life. For the same people who receive manna from heaven, now feeding them again with the word that never perishes. The world may hunger, but the Israelites was promised to be fulfilled. This is the book of Exodus chapter 22 verse 31, and it reads, "And ye shall be holy men unto me, neither shall ye eat any flesh that is torn of beast in the field, ye shall cast it to the dogs." This law is both literal and symbolic. On the surface, it teaches the Israelites to maintain purity by not consuming defiled or unclean flesh. But spiritually, it separates what is holy from what is profane. The Israelites are called to be holy men unto me, sanctified and distinct from the nations. The dogs who are outside of the covenant, the torn flesh cast to the dogs, represents that which is unfit for a holy nation, showing that what belongs to Yahweh's chosen cannot be mixed with what is common. Here's an example. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 14 verse 21, and it reads, "Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it. Or thou may sell it unto an alien, for thou art an holy people unto Yahweh thy God." So this precept locks directly with Exodus 22:31. The Most High is making a covenantal distinction between those who are sanctified and those who are not. The Israelites cannot touch what is defiled, but the stranger can receive it because they are not held to the same standard of holiness. That's not favoritism, that is holy ordered, thus saith Yahweh. So when Yahawashi says, "Give not that which is holy unto the dogs," he is standing on business. He is standing directly on the law and magnifying it. The dogs aren't rebellious Israelites. They are those outside the covenant, those not called holy. Israelites' identity, even in wickedness or ignorance, is never reduced to that level. They are still the holy people. Though often defiled and scattered and exiled, they are still redeemable through the covenant. This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 23 verse 18, and it reads, "Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of Yahweh thy God for any vow, for even both these are an abomination unto the Lord thy God." So here, dog clearly refers to foreign male prostitutes or outsiders, never Israelites, even the wicked ones. Exodus, Matthew 7 and 6, Matthew 15:26 all align. Outsiders alone bear the label dog. Covenant boundaries are reinforced. Even rebellious Israelites remain children of the covenant. Outsiders remain barred. The language maintains discernment and clarity of a sacred privilege. And if this doesn't make it hit hard, I'm going to make it real clear to show you that Christ, Yahawashi, was in line with this covenant and with the line established by his Father. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 22, verse 16 through 18. For dogs have compassed me, the assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and feet. I may tell all my bones. They look and stare upon me. They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture. This passage is prophetic because King David spoke it, but Yahawashi fulfilled it, the one you call Jesus Christ. The dogs here are not Israelites. They are the heathen powers, Roman soldiers, Edomite rulers, and foreign oppressors who brutalized the Messiah. The verse doesn't depict wicked Israelites betraying him, but rather the nations compassing about him, mocking and gambling for his garments. Notice how the psalm separates the dogs from the assembly of the wicked, both representing those outside the covenant who conspired against the Israelites' king. This directly reinforces Yahawashi's later teaching in Matthew 7 and 6 that dogs are outsiders, unclean and profane, incapable of reverencing what is holy. Just as in Exodus 22:31, the torn flesh was cast to the dogs, so too the Holy One of Israel was cast into the hands of the Gentiles, fulfilling prophecy. Yet even in that, Yahweh's plan stood unbroken. The Israelites' Redeemer was delivered up through their hands, but not consumed by them. This psalm exposed the true nature of the nations. They encircle, mock, and tear what is sacred, showing no reverence for holiness. This same imagery runs through the prophets. Dogs devour the sacrifice, representing the unclean consuming what they have no right to touch. Yahawashi's crucifixion scene brings this to life, literally. The nations handling, piercing, and dividing what was holy. Thus, Psalm chapter 22 doesn't just foretell the suffering, it defines the boundary between the holy and the profane. The Israelites are never the dog. They are never kalabium in the ancient Hebrew. They are the victimized nation, the body represented by their crucified king. The dogs are the Gentile oppressors, unclean, faithless, and far from the covenant promise. Here's the fulfillment. This is the book of John, chapter 19, verse 23 through 24, and it reads, Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Yahawashi, took his garments and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part, and also his coat. Now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. They said therefore among themselves, let us not rend it, but cast lots for it, whose it shall be, that the scripture might be fulfilled, which saith, they parted my raiment among them, and for my vesture they did cast lots. These things therefore the soldiers did. That didn't say the wicked Israelites did it? The nations did it. This is the literal manifestation of Psalms 22. The dogs compassing him and parting his garments. Notice who fulfills it. Roman soldiers, not Israelites. That distinction destroys any false claims that the dogs in Yahawashi's teachings could be wicked Israelites. These men were Gentiles, heathens foreign to the covenant, strangers to the promises, and unclean according to the very law they were keeping. Yet, they handled what was most holy, the body of Yahawashi, and even his garments, and treated it as a spoil. The act of casting lots wasn't random. It symbolized Gentile dominion over what belongs to the Israelites. They divided his garments and the covering of the Holy One, just as the nations have always tried to divide his people and their inheritance. But even in the act of desecration, prophecy stood unbroken. The Most High allowed it to show the contrast between holiness and corruption. The holy cast to the dogs, just as Yahawashi warned in Matthew 7 and 6. Through this, we see that the dogs represent those outside the covenant who trample sacred things without discernment or reverence. Yahawashi's crucifixion proved it beyond dispute. The nations, not his own people, fulfill the role of kalabium in the ancient Hebrew, but the dogs in the oppressor's language, who pierced and divided. The Israelites may have fallen into error and blindness, but never lost their status as the sheep of his pasture. The dogs, on the other hand, remain unclean and unworthy to touch what is holy, except by divine permission to fulfill prophecy. This is the book of Acts, chapter 4, verse 27 and 28, and it reads, For of a truth against thy holy child Yahawashi, whom thou hast anointed, both Herod and Pontius Pilate with the Gentiles and the people of Israel were gathered together for to do whatsoever thy hand and thy counsel determined before to be done. So here the apostles are quoting the prophetic language of the Psalms and bringing it full circle. The dogs that compassed Yahawashi were not his sheep, but the Gentiles, Rome and Edom under Herod's dominion, those outside the covenant. Pontius Pilate and the Roman soldiers literally fulfilled Psalms 22, 16 through 18, when they pierced his hands and feet and cast lots for his garments. These were the same dogs of prophecy, the nations that trampled the holy without reverence. Notice too the divine order, that even the Israelites' participation came under the Most High's foreordained plan. The people of Israel mentioned here weren't the dogs. They were the blind sheep caught in the snare of prophecy. Their involvement fulfilled the portion that Yahweh's hand had determined, but their identity remained covenantal, redeemable, and beloved. Because Yahawashi himself prayed, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So this passage confirms that the holy was truly given into the hands of the dogs. the Gentile nations to accomplish the redemption. It also shows that Yahweh's sovereignty, even in their cruelty, moved his purpose forward. The same dogs who compassed him will be judged in due time, while the sheep he died for, the Israelites, will be gathered, cleansed, and restored. Thus, Acts chapter 4 seals the understanding. Yahawashi's warning in Matthew 7 and 6 was not metaphorical exaggeration. It was prophetic precision, to say the least. A declaration rooted in the law and the Psalms. That which is holy belongs to the Israelites, and when the nations handle it, they fulfill judgment, not fellowship. The word, the covenant, and the Redeemer himself remain the inheritance of the holy nation. Yasha Allah, forever. The children of Israel are never collabium in the scriptures. For from Torah through Yahawashi's word, the distinction between holy and profane, sheep and dogs, covenant and heathen is unwavering. The Most High himself established that order, and Yahawashi upheld it without compromise, even dying for it. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 12 through 14, and it reads, How think ye, if a man have 100 sheep, and one of them be gone astray, doth he not leave the 99 and goeth into the mountains and seeketh that which is gone astray? And so, if it be that he find it, verily I say unto you, he rejoiceth more of that sheep than of the 99 which went not astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. Matthew chapter 18, 12 through 14 exposes the heart of that truth. Yahawashi speaks of a shepherd who leaves the 99 to find one sheep that is gone astray. That one lost is still a sheep, not a stranger, not a dog, not a heathen, not a Gentile. Ethnically, it belongs to the flock by blood and covenant. That's why he says it is not the will of your Father which is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. That means even in their rebellion or ignorance, the Israelites remain his possession. They remain his portion. Wickedness may cause separation or punishment, but it never changes your ethnic identity or your covenant identity. The covenant defines them, not their condition. Now, when you line that up with Daniel chapter 9 and 11, the picture is perfect. This is the book of Daniel chapter 9 verse 11, and it reads, Yeah, all Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us, and the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, because we have sinned against him. Noticed, all the Israelites sinned, yet it's still Yasha Allah. The covenant curses didn't erase their identity with the Most High. They proved it. The discipline came because they were chosen, not because they were the dogs. This is the very reason the new covenant had to be given, not to replace the Israelites, but to restore them. If the Israelites could be reduced to collabium, which is being called dogs, then Yahawashi's mission would be incoherent. There would be no lost sheep to recover, no covenant to renew, and no promise to fulfill. Because that which is holy should have not been given to them if they were the dogs, because all of them sinned and went astray. So that means all of them were wicked, which means they would be the dogs if I were to believe these people's understanding. But the Israelites could never be Calabium. He declared plainly, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. That's covenant love. That's pursuit of fallen sons, not pity on outsiders. The dogs remain those beyond the covenant, the nations who trampled what was holy. But the sheep, no matter how scattered or how sinful or how oppressed or how exiled, even if they forgot who they are, they still remain Yasha'Allah. Matthew chapter 18, 12 through 14 seals it 100%. The Israelites may be lost, chastised, or asleep, but they're never Calabium. They are Baniam Kadash, holy children, bound forever by the blood of Yahawashi. And the new covenant exists because Yahweh never forgot his own. This is the book of Matthew, chapter 9, verse 36, and it reads, But when he saw the multitudes, and he was moved with compassion on them, because they fainted and were scattered abroad as sheep having no shepherd. Yahawashi is observing the state of the Israelites in their scattered condition. The multitudes are weary, lost in ignorance, and lacking proper guidance. He does not call them dogs. They are sheep, part of the covenant flock, though straying or oppressed or being among the heathen. His compassion is for the restoration of his people, not for the nations outside of the covenant. This verse illustrates that the Israelites, even in weakness or rebellion, remain holy and sought after. Their scattered state is temporary, remedial, and the object of divine pursuit. Yahawashi's heart towards the Israelites shows that the covenant remains intact and that he came to shepherd that flock, heal that wounded people, and bring the lost back to life. The nations, in contrast, are never included in this flock. They are Calabium. They are the dogs, the outsiders, the ones who cannot discern or appreciate what is holy. Matthew 9 verse 36 reinforces the ongoing truth seen in Exodus 19 and John chapter 10. The Israelites are the holy flock, eternally pursued, eternally chosen, and eternally distinct from the nations. This is the book of John, chapter 10, verse 1, and it reads, Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. Yahawashi is establishing the authority and legitimacy of the shepherd over his covenant flock. The door represents the proper access to God's chosen people, the Israelites. Anyone trying to enter by another way is a thief or a robber, symbolizing the nations or outsiders who have no claim to the covenant promises. This verse reinforces the principle that the sheep, the Israelites, are distinct from the dogs, the unclean nations. Even straying or rebellious Israelites remain part of the flock. Their identity is secured by the covenant. The door is Yahawashi himself, the appointed shepherd through whom the covenant relationship is maintained. Those outside, the Gentile nations, cannot bypass this order. They have no inherent right to the flock. John chapter 10 verse 1 therefore upholds the separation of the Israelites as holy and the nations as outsiders, echoing Exodus 19 and reinforcing the same precept seen in Matthew 18. Covenant identity is immutable and the holy cannot be given to the dogs. This is the book of John chapter 10 verse 14 through 16, and it makes it abundantly clear. Yahawashi says, I am the good shepherd, and I know my sheep, and am known of mine. As the Father knoweth me, even so I, the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And other sheep I have which are not of this fold, and them also must I bring. And they shall hear my voice, and there shall be one fold and one shepherd. Those other sheep are the northern tribes. The Israelites were scattered by Assyria and beyond, punished for idolatry and wickedness. And they had not set eyes on Yahawashi, as only the southern tribes were in Judea at the time of his arrival. But even in exile, they are still sheep, never dogs, never calabium, and never outsiders in the covenant. Their wandering does not sever their access to the door, Yahawashi himself, through whom they may return and be restored. The parable demonstrates the rebellion or ignorance does not erase covenant identity. This confirms a foundational precept. The holiness of the Israelites is immutable. Wicked Israelites may be chastised, scattered, or temporarily blind, but they are never counted among the dogs. The nations, in contrast, remain outside the flock, unclean, unable to hear the voice of the shepherd, and without a rightful claim to the promises. John 10:14 through 16 therefore reinforces the eternal truth through the door. The covenant people, even the lost northern tribes, have life and restoration, as that is the tenet of the gospel. And this perfectly dovetails with Matthew chapter 18 and Luke 19 has been saying. The shepherd seeks every sheep, but the dogs remain outside. This is the book of Revelations chapter 22 verse 14 and 15, and it reads, Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. Even in the end, the principle is unchanged. Dogs are barred from New Jerusalem. Matthew 7:6 and Revelation frame holy things as bound to covenant obedience. The announcement of Isaiah 61, the ministry of Yahawashi, the historical examples in Psalm chapter 12 all flow into this eternal principle. Covenant adherence is required. Outsiders remain excluded. Sacred gifts remain protected. Covenant boundaries are consistent, historical, practical, and eternal. This is the book of Matthew chapter 25 verse 31 through 34, and it reads, When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divided his sheep from the goats. and he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say to them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. This is Yahawashi's second coming, not his first appearance in humility. In his first coming, he came as a servant, a lamb to preach repentance to the Israelites, as we began the lesson when quoting Luke chapter 4. But here, he returns as the king, shepherd, and judge, executing the restoration of the covenant people and judgment of the nations. The throne of his glory represents the throne of David restored, and the fulfillment of promises made to the house of Israel. This is not a universal judgment of Christians, but a national judgment where Yahawashi distinguishes the Israelites from the nations, the sheep from the heathen. So the gathering of nations is for judgment, not fellowship. They are not being invited into the covenant. They are being assembled for accountability and division. Thus, the sheep represent the whole house of Israel, both the northern and southern tribes, finally gathered under one shepherd. The goats represents the nations, the heathen, even the Edomite systems that oppressed the Israelites. Just as goats and sheep can graze in the same field, yet remain distinct, the Israelites and the nations have existed side by side, but Yahawashi will separate them definitively at his coming. So Yahawashi is restoring the divine order. On the right hand, you have the sheep, the Israelites, his covenant people, chosen for this inheritance. And on the left hand, you have the goats, the nations, the dogs, those outside the covenant and marked for destruction and or servitude, Isaiah chapter 60. The division is final and no Christian unity here. Only separation but based on covenant identity. Now the purpose of separation is revealed. Inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. This directly confirms that the kingdom of heaven was always prepared for the Israelites, not for all humanity. That's nowhere in the scriptures. This is the book of 2nd Esdras chapter 6 verse 57 through 59, and it reads, And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have been ever reputed as nothing, have become lords over us and to devour us. But we, thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. And if the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? This is Prophet Ezra crying out from the depth of captivity, just as many of our people are today. He identifies the nations plainly as these heathen, those reputed as nothing. The same thing said in the book of Daniel. Yet in this present time, which is the time of the Gentiles, they reign, but it's temporary. He calls the Israelites thy firstborn, thy only begotten, thy fervent lover. There is no ambiguity here. The world itself was created for the Israelites' sake, not as a shared inheritance. The question, how long shall this endure, points forward to a set time when rulership finally flips. and the division is finalized. The nations have had their time to rule, whether it was Egypt or Assyria or Babylon or Greece or Rome or this last beast that we're in currently, but their dominion was never ownership. At the appointed hour, Yahawashi will say to his elect, "Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world." And at that moment it is fulfilled. The heathen are brought low. Their temporary dominion is shattered. The Israelites receive an everlasting kingdom, the same thing Daniel saw in chapter 7, and the order returns to what the Father intended before the world began, that the world would be at ease under the rulership of his Son, sitting on the throne to reign in a kingdom without end. The phrase "prepared for you from the foundation of the world" echoes Isaiah 45:17. But Israel shall be saved in Yahweh with an everlasting salvation. Ye shall not be ashamed nor confounded, world without end. Israel is not ever talking about a landmass. It's talking about the seed of Jacob. And it also connects Luke chapter 12:32. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The kingdom belongs to the flock, the sheep, the Israelites, never Calabium, never the dogs, never the goats, because they never had a portion in it. Yahawashi is not offering universal salvation here. He is delivering the inheritance to those whom the covenant was made. Psalm 147:19 and 20. Romans chapter 9, 4-5. So when Yahawashi sits on the throne of his glory, he is not blurring distinctions. He is enforcing them. The sheep and the goats will never graze together again. The covenant will stand as it always was meant to for the Israelites and no other nation. And yes, there will be Israelites who struggle, stumble, or even rebel against the idea that Yahawashi's kingdom is separated, that the righteous reign while the nations serve under them. They're going to have a problem with that. They believe the nations are actually their brothers in covenant. They've been trained in this captivity to equate equality with righteousness and separation with hate. Those Israelites who resist Yahweh's structure are literally striving against their own maker. And if he chose the Israelites to rule and the nations to serve them, pertaining to the law, according to his own divine setup, then opposing that order isn't humility, it is rebellion. And the clay does not get to tell the potter how to shape any of his vessels. Ezekiel 20:32 says, "And that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all, that ye say, we will be as the heathen." This is a direct strike against Israelites who want to blend in with the nations. Yahweh says plainly, that mindset will not stand. He will purge out the rebels and those who do not want his order. The separation isn't optional. It is a refining process before entering the bond of the covenant. Yahawashi made it plain. He came not to bring peace, but a sword. The lion reigns. The Israelites who have a problem with Yahweh's divine separation are spiritually compromised. They've adopted heathen ideals of unity and equality that never existed in the land nor in the covenant. they are still in Babylon in their minds. But when Yahawashi returns to separate the sheep and the goats, he will not debate his father's hierarchy. The meek of the Israelites will inherit the earth, and the proud, the worldly, the sympathetic to the heathen will be cast out with them. And to any Old Testament only brother who rejects his reign, as Luke 19 says, but those mine enemies which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay before me. This isn't addressed to heathen nations alone, but also Israelites who refuse Yahawashi's reign. Enemies here include those among his people who reject his divine authority and the rulership he's promised to the faithful of the Israelites. There is a lot of blood that's going to be shed in these last days. Allow me to soften the edge without dulling the sword, in hopes to convict you and not condemn you, in hopes to give you space for repentance and not despair. I beseech you, my brethren, to be as one of these little ones, innocent, teachable, impressionable, a willing vessel. I pray you understand that. So, brothers and sisters, hear this clearly. Israelites are never redefined as dogs. The Most High has set boundaries of holiness, and the Messiah himself confirmed them from Exodus to the Psalms, from Matthew to Revelation. The precepts are unwavering. The holy belongs to the holy, and we are the sheep. Even when scattered, chastised, or straying, our identity is secured in the covenant. The nations, the dogs may trample, mock, or divide what is sacred, but they cannot claim it. Yahawashi came first to the lost sheep of Israel, restoring the promise, feeding the flock with the true bread of life, and upholding the covenant in full. Yes, the apostles spoke of urgency. They believed the kingdom was near, and rightly so, for in principle it was. But the fullness of God's plan spans centuries. The times of the Gentiles continue. The diaspora endures. Yet the sheep are preserved, never redefined, never rejected. The lesson is timeless. Vigilance, obedience, and faithfulness. These are our charge, no matter how long the wait. So walk in covenant awareness. Guard what is holy. Discern between the sheep and the dogs. Love the flock. Restore the scattered, but do not hand over the treasures of God's words to those outside the covenant. The restoration is coming. The promises are unbroken, and the Holy One's timing is perfect. Let us rise today as the holy children of the Israelites, steadfast, vigilant, and ready, because our shepherd knows us, pursues us, and will bring every lost sheep home. And let the children of Israel say, Amen. And so, it's all honor, all glory, and all praises to Yahweh, the eternal power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the righteous judge and the Holy One of Yasha'Allah. And blessings be upon the elect through Hamashiach Yahawashi, the anointed King, the Lion of Judah, and the deliverer of Zion, the mighty intercessor raised up by the Most High himself. Yahweh alone is the receiver of all praise, and Yahawashi is the door, the mediator, the high priest, the vessel by whom we are reconciled and have access. May the Most High give you eyes to see, ears to hear, and a heart to obey. May your steps be ordered by his word, your faith proven by your works, and your soul preserved in the day of visitation. Barakathum, Bahashem Yahweh, Bahashem Hamashiach Yahawashi, Barakathum, Banyam Yasha Allah, Kwam Yasha Allah, Kwam Malak, Kwam Tazadak, Ka Halayim La Yahweh Thum Yad. It's your brother Ak Lamak, and I hope you are edified and shalom.